Good evening, everybody. This is Paul from G-Shocker. So yesterday I was playing about with a couple of bands that I had, old bands that were pretty much ruined and ready to go in the bin, and I've been wondering for a while how I go about potentially cleaning them up. I tried, the usual soap and water, electric toothbrush. Nothing really seemed to bring these bands up. After a while, they get a lot of wear on them. So what was a nice matte finish, they become kind of shiny in places and just look a little bit of a mess. You can kind of see on this bezel. Yeah, it just looks really naff to me, and I ended up replacing both the bezel and strap on this particular watch, and so these were just spare laying around that I could, I guess, practice various different things on. So if you want to compare against a brand new arrangement bezel, see the nice matte finish that it has on it compared to this horrible sheen, and equally on the strap, again, just these sort of shiny darker marks that appear on the strap compared to the nice matte finish that the original has. And it's never going to get back like this, but at the same time I've managed to improve it with a pretty simple process. So this is a band, and then, to be honest, this half of the band was worse than the other. It was in a right state, and I played about with various different things. Nothing was really making much of a difference. And then I had this, I guess, brainwave that we have these things in our cupboard that get scuffs off walls, and pretty much anything I've ever tried, and I never thought of trying it before, but it's basically this little thing. It's a flash eraser, or the various different brands that you have out there, and I quite literally just laid the band down. So this is, I guess right now, laid the band down. This needs to be wet, by the way, before you use it, and started to give it a bit of a rub. This is maybe a bit too wet. It just wants to be damp. Just a word of caution, when you get around anything like this with text, just be gentle, and for the most part just kind of skim over it, go around the edges, because this thing, it will almost certainly strip the wording off. So if you want the wording off, then it will be a great tool to do that, but otherwise, yeah, just avoid. Could really do with this being a little bit less wet. I'm just going to pour a load of water all over my desk. For the most part, I was sort of keeping in one straight motion, but at the same time, every now and again, just going in the opposite direction, but for the most part, going in one direction. That seemed to give like the most even finish overall. And you'll notice that as we're rubbing the strap, bits of this just fall away. It quite literally just disintegrates. So it's best to just cut a small chunk off, use that, and keep the rest of the sponge dry. Otherwise, you'll go through them pretty quickly. I probably spent, I'd say, about a minute in total on the other part of the strap, and it made a pretty huge difference. And I'm sure if I'd spent another minute, it probably would have gone better still. But I think that at the moment this is just a little bit too wet, but let's just have a quick look and see how we're getting on. So that's it at the moment. So it's already a pretty damn big improvement just from that. What, I don't know how long it was, maybe a minute, less than a minute, but it's made a big difference. You can see sort of the scuffs around here that going to try to work on whilst not rubbing away the tough solar sign. It's definitely looking better. It sort of brings back that nice matte finish. Again, it's never gonna, you know, completely repair these straps, but it can certainly extend the life. And if we compare that now to this very shiny bezel, I've not tried the bezel yet because there's a lot more to the bezel that I think it's going to take a lot longer, but I'll just have a quick go and see what kind of an impact we can make in another minute. See now that it's still, you know, it's not as nice and matte as the brand new Rangeman, but it's a damn sight better than what it was. And like I say, I think if you spent a good 5 minutes just focusing on some of the areas that have a little bit more wear, you'd end up with a much better result. But from a strap and a bezel that I would say was ready to go in the bin, I think that's a pretty good end result, to be honest. I certainly wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't throw that in the bin at the moment. But then again, I'm pretty fussy, so I probably wouldn't use it either. But all in all, I think that's pretty impressive for a couple of minutes work with a relatively cheap household item. So anyway, I hope that helps. Love to see your before and after pics. If you want to share them with me, drop me a message or post a link in the comments. This has been Paul from G-Shocker. Until next time.